Today I will be talking about the books I read this September. I will just preface this by saying that it was a weird reading month for me. Most of the books I read were via audiobook because I got into a car accident and I got a concussion as well. So audiobooks really helped me out and I was still able to consume amazing books. So I'll talk about the first two books that I have in physical formats. So the first one I read was Titus Andronicus. Sorry, I didn't want to mess up that. By Shakespeare. This is one of his tragedies. I rated it 3 out of 5 stars. It was good. It was quite gory, and when I was skimming through the introduction because I didn't want to be spoiled, there was a lot of talk about how scholars have really disliked this play from Shakespeare over the years because it doesn't seem like it's written by Shakespeare due to all the gore and its kind of shock factor. I haven't read enough Shakespeare to think that I don't have an opinion whether or not he actually wrote this or not. I'll leave that up to the people who actually know what they're talking about, but I rated it 3 out of 5 stars. I probably would have to read this again to actually fully understand it better, but I did enjoy it. I thought some of the plot lines were kind of confusing, but I definitely think I would recommend it because it's something different from Shakespeare. And the second physical book I have that I read this September was Twilight. I have read Twilight, I think now 6 times. Not all the series 6 times, but the first book. I haven't read it since I was a child in elementary school, but I read it because September is the start of fall and I really wanted to get back into the fall mood, and I think of Twilight when I think of that. The iconic blue filter on the first movie just brings me back, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I rated it 5 stars, even though it probably didn't deserve 5 stars, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. I gave it 5 stars purely based on nostalgia, but I'm going to be reading the rest of the Twilight Saga because I haven't read the novella about Bree Tanner, and I got Midnight Sun late last year after it came out, and I still haven't read that. So I'm going to read them all and then read Midnight Sun, and yeah. So I actually forgot that I read another physical book, but I can't actually find it. So I'll just hold up the next book in the series. So it was the second volume of Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and that's actually what the title was. I rated this 3 stars. Nothing wrong with the book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just, I think the story I need to read it all before I could give it like any higher of a rating because each volume kind of ends at like a cliffhanger. I am so far really enjoying it. I don't know if I will continue it in October because I have a pretty lofty TBR and I have some more books available on Libby that weren't a part of my TBR, so I don't think I'll be able to get to Scott Pilgrim this month, but I'm excited to get to probably into November. But yeah, 3 to 5 stars. And then I read quite a few audiobooks, so I'll put them here if I can figure out how to do that. So the first one I read was Cinder by Marissa Meyer, the first book in the Lunar Chronicles. I read this in one sitting via audiobook on 2 times speed, so like 5 hours straight, and I loved it. I had seen it before as a teenager, but I hadn't really had any interest in it until I saw the new covers that were released, and then I got interested in it, so I got it on Libby, and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked the setting of New Beijing, and Cinder was a great character. I can't wait to see what she does next. I have heard that Scarlet, I believe, is the second book. It's each book it kind of follows a new character, and Cinder kind of goes along with them. So I'm excited to see where that ends up, and I am anxiously waiting for the next book in the series to be available on Libby. And then I read Dearly by Margaret Atwood. I gave this 2 stars. I listened to it on audiobook, and it was narrated by Margaret Atwood, but there was a few poems I liked, but nothing really stood out to me, and there were some that I just didn't really get. It kind of just sounded like ramblings, And so I don't know if modern poetry is for me. I read 2 poetry collections this month from modern poets, and I didn't enjoy either of them, which we will talk about next. But so I just don't know if modern poetry is for me. The second poetry collection I read was Islands of Decolonial Love, Stories and Songs by Leanna Simpson. I don't know if you can hear the rain, but it's kind of loud on my tin roof. Again, I give this 2 stars. I really wanted to love this because I love reading Indigenous literature from Turtle Island, but it just wasn't for me. I maybe would have read better if I hadn't consumed it via audiobook and I had read it like on the page, but I often found myself just kind of like waiting for certain poems to be over and certain stories to be over. I don't know. I think modern poetry maybe isn't for me, which is sad. And then the last book I read this month actually was The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kiersten White. I give this 4 stars. I think maybe if I had already read Frankenstein, I would have gave it 5. I really liked it. It did have a slow start to it, but I did enjoy that the slow start gave us time to get to know Elizabeth as a character, because from what I know, she's not actually a character in Frankenstein. So that would be great for someone who hasn't read Frankenstein and has read it, because they're introducing a new character. I really, really enjoyed everything about the novel. The audio book narrator was amazing. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I ordered another book from Kiersten White, but it's a little bit different. I believe it's a Arthurian retelling. So that will be interesting, but I'm looking forward to see what more she has to offer. I really enjoyed this book. So that was my September wrap up. It went by pretty quickly because I only had really audiobooks to talk about, so I couldn't even like gush about the covers or anything. But yeah, I enjoyed pretty much most things that I read this month, so I would say it was a pretty successful reading month. And I am starting some new books for October and some more spooky reads. So I will be hopefully putting up some vlogs throughout October to show my reading experience for my first October. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.